Hey, hey, hey. How you guys doing? I just need to open up a couple things. Actually, we'll hit the ground running in like about a minute if that's okay, Travis. Does that work for you?
What was that? What was that?
We can totally start in like give anybody and everybody about a minute to come in so that they can ask, but um ask a couple questions just because some people are late. Adam's always on time. But
Good job, Adam.
I Adam's a rock star. Adam actually just started the principal's class. We're actually
Nice.
tomorrow's our last day in the principal's class, and so like in we're talking about life estates, and he always brings up really good questions in class, and so we were going to deep dive life estates. But he didn't know you were coming in, but I think I actually think it's really beneficial for Adam for him to be here so that you can talk to him about what worked best for you. I just got another email. I don't think Henry does Henry sound familiar to you as a name, Travis? Because I just got an email from Henry saying he passed his exam, and then he sent me some PrepAgent videos. He's like, tell your students about the PrepAgent videos. I'm like, I totally am already, but I will forward the ones that he specifically said are the ones that work for him. And so anyway, well, let's do this. It is 6:32. I am not, oh, I have 4 people on Twitch. Hi guys on Twitch. I'm not responding to you. I mean that in the nicest way possible. But why don't we just roll it then? And Travis, you don't have to, for those of you guys that are students in my class or have previously been students in my class, you don't have to have your cameras on ever because that's just not a requirement in the state of California. But surprise, surprise, Travis messaged me yesterday, just so you guys know, he's a previous student that I had that just passed the state exam. And I said, hey, we're doing a live on Wednesday night if you'd like to come in and just like answer any questions people may have. So I'm going to unshare the screen. I'm going to open my Twitch just in case you guys in Twitch are asking any questions, so I can set that up on that side. And let me go into the chat side. I might actually have to have Adam come in here really quickly because I haven't actually played in video producer. I think I might need to be in video producer. Is that where my chat is? I don't even remember that. I haven't gamed on Twitch long enough that I am a bit stumped. So anyway, well, if okay, I found the chat. That's all that matters to me. I found the oh, let me mute it. Okay. Oh, that's my email. Give me just one more moment. I closed something out, so then the chat went away. There it is. Okay. There we go. Awesome. Okay, perfect. So, Travis, thank you so much for coming into class. Is there, oh, I've got a couple chats here too. I know. Okay. So cool. Travis, just like share with us your first and foremost, you don't have to tell us all the details of where you're coming from. But you can tell us if you want, share with us how many days. Well, let me ask you some questions. So you passed the state exam. When did you pass the state exam?
On Thursday, November 16th, I took the exam, got the results the next morning on the DRE website on November 17th.
And do they still do that old school thing where they hand you a piece of paper that just basically says go to the website, or do they not even hand the paper out anymore?
Yeah, they handed me the paper, and I was very surprised. I thought I was going to get the results right away, but they said, no, you'll usually find out either this evening or within the next 2 days. So I checked every hour all night long. So excited. Went to bed and woke up Thursday morning or Friday morning with the great news.
Okay, cool. So what did you do to prepare?
I did everything that you and Joe told me to do. Repetition. What really helped was during the classes, I highlighted everything in different colors to indicate the different levels of importance. And
Importance works.
just reviewing all my highlights, reading them 2 to 3 times in every book. I also the exam cram workbook, that was amazing. Going back, looking at the answers, just repeating it. Repetition was really key in this.
Yeah.
PrepAgent Joe was amazing. I think that was outstanding, and I give a lot of credit to Joe as well.
Oh my gosh, Joe's the best. So I have students that tell me that PrepAgent works best for them. I've had people tell me that CompuCram. So if you are any of my live lecture students that go through Allied Schools or Calabria or Rockwell or blah, 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 you know what I mean? Or if you're with UCLA, Glendale Community College, Los Angeles Community College District, the no matter where you're coming from, basically people are really leaning heavily on Joe with PrepAgent. So I do appreciate you sharing that Joe with PrepAgent was powerful, because that we're actually going to be going through his life estate video, because Adam's like, okay, wait a minute, can you sell your interest as a life tenant? And I'm like, no, you can't. And then I'm like, well, you can't, but you can, but anyway. So that's a deep dive for a later time. So you use PrepAgent, repetition,
The Quizlets were also super helpful.
the Quizlets. Okay, is the test Scantron computer or a physical sheet of paper? That's the chat question.
It is on a computer.
Now I've been in the industry long enough that it was a Scantron when I did it. So that's why I love you guys coming in and sharing with us exactly your experience. What okay, so did you study like half an hour a day? Did you set the date and you're going, okay, like 4 weeks from today, I'm gonna take it?
So once the class got over, I, waited about 2 months before I was able to schedule a test date. I picked a test date that was about 6 weeks out. I said 6 weeks sounds like a good amount of time to give myself a refresher, go everything, get it fresh back in the head, still holding on to some of the information I learned. And about 6 weeks before the test, I started studying maybe every other day for half hour to an hour.
Oh,
And I sometimes went maybe 2 or 3 days without studying, but just half hour to an hour at least every other day was what really got me there. The 3 days leading up to the test, I crammed hard. I gave it my all. I did hours and hours the 3 days before. And even up until an hour before the test, I was studying until I drove over to the place to take the test. I did it at the San Diego location, and just going over the exam cram workbook and last minute videos with Joe, your YouTube videos. Uh,
awesome. Yeah, no, Joe's phenomenal. Okay. Okay, good.
Using the real estate dictionary was also helpful for terminology. I would skim through the dictionary actually more frequently, just to go over the terms and repeat the word, repeat the definition.
How did you feel when you were in there on the computer?
I felt very confident, surprisingly. I went in there with a great attitude. I went in there with I have to pass. I want to be one of the 52%. I went in there confident. I know I don't know everything and didn't know everything, but I went in there saying I can do this. I told myself I can do this. I remember what I read. I remember what I was told. I reviewed this. I got this. I went in there with confidence and got on the computer. I actually finished in under an hour and a half. I was actually the first one done out of about 30 people.
Did you go back? Okay, so on the state exam, back in the day, because you could go back because it was Scantron, but you should be able to go back to like questions. You can like check on them and stuff. Did you do any of that, or you're like, no, I feel good about this, I'm going to turn this in?
On my way walking from the parking garage to the testing center, I met someone else who was also going to test. I talked to her as we walked into the building. She said this was her third time going to take the test. I was like,
Oh,
wow. She said they try and trick you. I already heard that, and I knew that would be a thing. She gave me the best piece of advice, and I'll tell everyone to this day, do what she said. Don't second guess yourself. As I went through the questions, I could, read the question, read the answers. First thing is weed out the ones that aren't correct, and then you might narrow it down to one or two. Go with your gut. Don't second guess yourself at all. I went through all of them. I skipped one question, maybe about around question 110. I skipped it. That is the only one I went back to answer. But I knew if I went back and second guessed any of the ones I was unsure of, I might be doing myself a disservice. So don't second guess yourself. Don't go back to any of your answers. Go with your gut, because you're probably right on the first try.
Awesome. Okay. Adam put in chat, I know you can't give examples of the questions due to, I'm sure, NDAs. No. Don't worry about NDAs. Travis is going to spill the beans, baby. But how comparable would you say the state test questions are to the curriculum in our books and in our portal as far as wording?
Very similar. I was actually surprised at the test. I was like, well, this is easier than I thought it was going to be. It wasn't as tricky. The wording was pretty much the same as in the book, but they do actually try and trick you a little. You do need to pay attention to the words like always, except, sometimes. I think that was key in knowing that, to be prepared to see that, because it makes you, really focus on the question more. But the wording was about the same. Some of the questions I was a little, I didn't expect to come, and I'm glad I knew it. I didn't think that was something that would be on the test. So anything and everything could be on the test. You never know what you're going to get.
So I've been telling the students it's consumer driven heavy. So whatever the needs of the people that are buying, it's not, you need to, because you're basically you're speaking for them. Did you find that in the exam? It was like that it was
Yes,
asking you, do you know? Oh, go ahead. I'm sorry. Yeah.
most of the questions were scenarios. They would say things like, pretend you're the buyer's agent and the seller's agent is so and so. What would you do in this situation, or can you do this, or how would you do this? Most of them started off in a scenario type.
To make sure you can protect the consumer, because they're the layman.
Absolutely.
Okay.
Yes, absolutely.
Okay.
It was all about consumer protection. Absolutely.
Okay. Did they ask you any questions about the Senate Bill 1495 that's changing the practice book for 2024? Did you hear anything about bias
Not
training?
none of those were covered in the test.
Oh, no. I didn't think they would be, but I've had students go, oh my God, do we need to be studying? I'm like, no. This is associated with your bias, your hidden bias. But it is technically consumer driven. I think the one question you will be asked about is you'll have to be able to answer what is Senate Bill 1495, and it's just bias training. So, okay, good. That's good to know. Adam, do you have any other questions? Let me see if do we have any questions in Twitch. We do not have any questions in Twitch. Okay. So you studied 30 minutes or to an hour every other day, and then about a week prior to you going in to the exam, that's when you hit the ground running and you were doing multiple hours?
Yes, I went about 3 days hard before the exam.
3 days hard. Oh, Adam, I'm not worried about you typing slow. He's like, sorry, I don't have any questions. No, you don't have to have any questions, but that's part of the reason why Travis will be in. And then if Henry's available to come in, Ryan, I got an email from another student this morning say, wish me luck. He did the same thing. 52. I want to be the 52 percentile. I'm taking my exam today at 12:30. And I was like, you got this, Ryan. Because I know, like, it's the students that really engage in the class that are the retention is going to be higher. So, wow, man, much success. Travis, next step. Do you have a broker?
I actually started interviewing brokers this week. I talked to eXp Realty today. I have an interview with Remax on Friday, and I am going to be scheduling an interview with Realty One Group next week with a broker that I've talked to on and off for the last year. She really wants me to join her team. They have a great program called Place, which is supposed to be really awesome and helpful to agents. So yes, I am actively interviewing agents or brokers, and I've heard a lot of great things so far.
I love it. I love it. That's really I look, if they're pursuing you and you know they're going to pursue you, especially now that your license is up, there's a couple caveats to all of this. Um, make sure that the address you have, you're willing to get a lot of advertisement because now your address is public record on the
So yes,
Department of.
definitely. I recommend that to anyone that doesn't want a bunch of stuff coming to their house. Just for this class and for you telling us about that, I went and opened a PO box so that way that is separate from my home address, and in case I ever move, that PO box can remain. So that was my recommendation if you don't want anyone to know your physical address, to go ahead and get a PO box and put that in when you sign up on the licensee part on the DRE website, because that's the address that they will put.
Yeah, it's public record. The other thing is once you become a realtor with your local association, ask the CRMLS or the MLS, whoever in your local association, if they sell your email address, because I've been hunting down, this happened within the last 3 months. I've been calling companies that have been sending me advertisements, and I called this one company out of Canada today, and I was like, how did you get my email address? Because I know that I haven't subscribed, and I'm concerned that you're sending me advertisements out of the country. And they were like, well, where are you based? I'm like, California, and you're Canada. And I didn't sign up for how to sell real estate in Canada. Don't get me wrong, I don't mind. I'll sell real estate anywhere, but I'm not licensed, you know? And so I'm finding through the grapevine that there's something I either clicked on or I didn't click on, that the affiliate program associated with membership. So your local association or the California, not the yeah, the California Department. No, sorry. The National Association of Realtors or the California Association of Realtors, one of those, somewhere our email addresses are either public record or something, and I'm trying to figure out how to get my email address removed from circulation. Most realtors, like my cousin, she's been a realtor forever, and her mobile phone is public on the World Wide Web, and I was like, oh no, I don't have time for that. But she's a cat of a different feather. But I might have students and now license everyone that's licensed might not be in that same situation. She's very much so needs to be the center of attention, not in a negative way. That's her personality. Like she grooves and that's her thing. That's not my thing at all. You know what I mean? Like if I see you out in Burbank, or if I see you guys wherever you are, San Diego, Silicon Valley, and you say hello, I'll totally say hello to you. But um, that's not my wheelhouse, if you will. And so I want to make sure that we protect the students that don't necessarily want their information. That's why, Adam, just so you know, that's why Travis went, that's why I talked to the previous students, like go get a PO box. If you don't want people just showing up at your house, or you don't want that kind of advertisement going to your mailbox, you don't want your neighbors to see some of that stuff's like that business does not need to be told about, you know? Uh, in the same respect, our emails should be protected as well. And so I'm trying to iron out that situation. But before, when you go and talk to your broker, and because whoever they're with, whoever the local association they're with, if that's a concern. Now, if that's not a concern for you, that's okay. I'm just trying to again present some of these hurdles that you might be like, how Kathy didn't give us tolls. I was going to get an extra onslaught of an additional 30 or 40 emails. And one of the reasons I'm sharing this is Travis messaged me and I missed one of your emails. And I was like, how am I missing the emails I need to get? And I was like, and you know what I mean? And that's when I got like I kind of Steve McQueen 0 to 60 angry. And I was like, okay, I need to start not just spamming these people. I need to find out where. And so it's through one of the associations. And I don't know what I did or didn't, but just like if you subscribe to anything online, it'll say if they'll have it clicked and it's like unclick if you don't want to be in our affiliate program. And you're like, who's your affiliate program? Like, is this, Publishers Clearinghouse people? Like who is this being sold to? And so anyway, just to kind of give you a heads up with your broker, and your broker might be like, oh dude, we're totally getting all kinds of crazy emails from companies, and it's okay. There's nothing wrong with it per se, but my email is supposed to be for you guys and then for the people I give it out to, not you know, like this other whatever. So anyway, I don't mean to keep you because I'm so proud. And I mean, I'm not proud. You did it. You did it. You did it all yourself, Travis. But I'm proud from the perspective that you nailed it. You hit the nail on the head and you were able to get to this next step. And as soon as you get a broker, I want you to come back and I want you to talk about that experience as well. And we have the same,
Absolutely.
we have everything I said in previous emails is the same. And Adam, I don't know if you know this, but as soon as you become a licensed agent, you come into the class, I pay you to come in and I don't pay you like, please say nice things about me. I pay you like your time is money. And I don't want you guys to be coming in here without knowing that I'm sewing back into your lives. And so, Travis, same contract as before. You know, nothing, nothing you do when you come into my classes is free. It's always me sewing back into your life. But, I feel sad that nobody else came in, but this is being recorded. It'll be up hopefully this evening. I'll get this up and running so that the students that didn't get to make it in, but I'm trying to think if there's any other questions that I can have for you. Were there any questions on the exam that kind of stumped you? Like, oh, I didn't know that they were gonna ask me this.
No, every question was something that has been talked about or I read. I wasn't stumped on anything, surprisingly. Not to say that I know everything or was 100% confident, but when the questions, the way they worded them, they do try and trick you, but kind of comes down to just common sense, the obvious answer, what sounds like it's in the best interest of the consumer, like you said earlier, is really what it boiled down to. Whatever's going to be beneficial and safer and not violate anyone or anything is going to be the answer you're going to want to go with.
Okay. Okay. It sounds like you did a lot of studying though.
I absolutely did. Yes, I didn't want to have to take it a second time. My goal was to get the license before the end of the year, and I did it, thankfully.
Oh no, awesome. Oh no, no, absolutely. Okay, well, cool, 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 cool. I'm trying to think if there's that was that you're the broker. What was the drive? Okay, did you do the 8 a.m. or did you do the 12:30 exam? Because they have two.
Neither. So I looked at a date that fit my schedule best to give me time to study. I chose to go on a Thursday at 4:30 p.m.
What?
They had it, yeah, they had an 8 a.m. option on that Thursday, November 16th, but I chose instead of the 8 a.m. I chose the 4:30 because I didn't want to feel rushed in the morning. I wanted to have time to adjust, to eat, to meditate, to study. So I chose a 4:30 time slot on Thursday, November 16th.
Okay, that's new because it's usually 8 and 12:30. So I wonder if they're trying to get as many people in before the end of the year as possible.
I was deciding between the Artesia location and the San Diego location. I'm closer to Artesia, but I chose San Diego because that's where I was living for the last 5 years. And I noticed the Artesia location had more 8 and 12s, and the San Diego had more 4:30s. And that's what I was interested in.
You know what? I'll share. I've got 4 students that are going to that are looking to test in San Diego, and I didn't know that there was a 4 or a 4:30.
4:30, yep, the 8, the 12, and the 4:30. And I mean, I recommend doing the 4:30. So, unless you're a super early morning person and get up super early, don't rush yourself in the morning. Don't stress yourself. Don't second guess yourself. Study before you go in the day of. Watch some more Joe videos. Grab your exam cram and go over your exam cram workbook again. Grab the dictionary if you need and read more definitions.
Awesome. Okay. Perfect. All right, Adam, last call. Do you have any do you have any questions?
Well, Adam, when you go on to test, don't bring in anything with you except for your driver's license. You can't wear rings, you can't wear glasses, obviously no cell phones, no wallets. They will make you, if you have to take a break to use the restroom or anytime you need to go and stretch during the test, they make you empty out your pockets, pull them out, show them that you don't have any cheat sheets or anything. They'll make you lift up your sleeves. So don't bring anything in there except for your
Driver's license.
your driver's license and the 2-page printout that you have to bring with you. Just bring those. That's it. They'll provide a calculator, a little dry erase board. They'll give you a mouse. They'll tell you which computer to go sit at. You go sit there, and you read something on there real quick. You click begin test, and that's when the time starts.
Do they wait for it? Do they wait to fill the building up, or can you just go in and start?
So you could just go in and start. There was about 30 people when I got there. It was on the third floor of the building. There was about 7 people in front of me. Then the person standing out tells you to go in, put all your stuff in a locker, take the key, remember which locker number. Then you go wait in another line, and then you present your ID when you're called and the application to take the test. And yeah.
Okay, cool. Awesome. Well, really quickly, Adam, you have to take, just so you know, because Travis knows this, once you take all 3 classes, you submit your certificates or your transcripts, however, whatever you want to call them, to the Department of Real Estate with your application, and that's how you start your e-licensing process, so that you can get that information in there and get it approved, so that you can they'll approve it, and then they send you an email that says, hey, come back in and check which place you'd like to take the exam, and then see what dates are available at that branch. And there's only 5 now in the state of California. So, and it's usually they only let you take the exam at 8 and 12:30, but obviously Travis is sharing with us that that there are 4:30 opportunities as well, which is awesome. I wasn't aware of that, so I'll definitely ask students to come and listen, because hearing it from the student is far greater, or the realtor, the newest realtor from graduating from the classes. But it's nice to hear it from the person that went through the experience.
Absolutely.
All right, Travis. Well, God bless you, dude. I'm excited. Keep me posted. We want to bring you back in. If you're also, once you interview a broker you feel good about, your broker can always come in and chat up. And we might only have one other student. We have a reasonable amount of people that watch the videos after, because I can't make these mandatory. But it'll give people opportunity to get to know your voice. But come back in and bring your broker with you, and if you're loving it, because good brokers are hard to find.
I'm taking your advice and finding a broker that's been in business at least 20 years, that's been weathered through it. I'm doing my due diligence and making sure it's someone that knows how to sustain.
Yeah, sustainability is going to be huge. There's going to be some crazy lawsuits coming up in the next 2 years, because the statute of limitations is coming up on anyone that bought during the craziest time, which was like 2022, with low rates, and everybody was trying to like outbid each other and stuff. So 22 to 3 to 4, 25. Yeah. So we're within the next year and a half, we're going to be seeing some insane lawsuits in the state of California because of the statute of limitations and people buying properties that were sold, quote unquote, as is. And then they're coming back going, oh, you mean I could still have gotten a home inspection on the property? You mean the seller had to tell me there was something wrong with the house? Yeah, as is doesn't mean it's as is. It means this is what we know is wrong with it. You need to get a home inspection for anything else. And so people are calling me now saying, how do we handle the situation? Well, you need to go get an attorney. I'm not an attorney. I play one on TV, but so I'm sustainability. 15 minutes later. Sorry, Travis. Sustainability is important. So yeah, I would love to hear more about the broker and it, and like, you might not want to tell me anything for another few months, and then you're like, oh dude, this was the best idea that that I ever came up with. This was the right pick because, and then you'll be able to bring in more stories, and you're always welcome. You're always welcome to come in. This, and just so you know, the ID and the password are like probably going to be that way forever. I don't really like change. So you can always jump in, or if you have something you want to share, we're more than willing to have you come back in class anytime. This is
I
air quote
appreciate
class.
that. I would love to.
Yeah, absolutely. Okay. Well, we're going to let you go. We're going to jump into life estates. Unless Adam has any questions at this point. We've been pushing him hard. Come on, Adam, give him a question. But if not, that's okay. Thank you for blessing us. It's an honor to have you in class. And I'm grateful that everything that I've said thus far has actually been true. Not that I didn't believe it was true, but the proof is usually in the pudding. And you know what I mean? Like you.
100%.
So, okay. Awesome.
Thank you again, Kathy. I couldn't have asked for a better instructor. And Adam, you got this. Don't second guess yourself. Go with your gut.
Okay. Okay. Awesome. We will. And he will. Adam will. He's great. He keeps me on my toes in class. He asks these odd questions. I'm like, oh, that's a good one. I don't
Kind of
know the
sound like
answer.
me.
Yeah, no, exactly. I was like, oh my gosh, birds of a feather. I love the fact that it's you guys in class today. But there's nothing wrong with that. You've got to keep you've got to keep the instructor on their toes, because I can throw it into cruise control real quick and then just go, oh, you know what it is, it's this. And you're like, no, man, I've never heard that word before in my life. What does that mean? And it's like, oh, I need to go look, So yeah. But anyway, well, God bless you, Travis. We appreciate you. We're grateful for you. I forgot half the stuff I even asked. Adam, yeah, Adam puts it in chat, and then it's kind of like drop the mic. And then I'm like, oh, Adam, that's a good question. And in class, I'm like taking pictures. I'm like, I'll have to get back to you. We'll have to do that on a Wednesday. And that's what this life estate thing is. But anyway, which isn't bad. Like he's opening uh, new experiences for students, and it's, you as an instructor, as a realtor, you never stop learning. You never stop walking into a new property situation that you never thought you were going to go in. You're like, what did these people do? What's going on? How are you holding title? That kind of stuff. So it's a good experience. But Travis, keep us posted.
You got it.
Okay.
Thanks,
Have a
guys.
good night. Yeah, absolutely.
Bye.
Bye. Bye. Bye. Bye. All right, all right. That was awesome. You guys having Travis, what a blessing. Holy cow. So Adam messaged us as in me and me only in class. Let me share this. So we were talking last week in class about everything. I actually have a list of a couple different things that were asked about, and we're going to definitely go over what Adam asked. Why? Because Adam's here. Hello. Now PrepAgent did a video, and it's called Life Estates, the Real Estate Exam Concepts Explained, right? Is that the video? That's the one I looked up. And I want to break it down for you. So we're going to talk about a few things, but let's start on that one. And if that's not the right one, then we'll keep building onto this PowerPoint, and then I'll add the PowerPoint. I'm going to put it in chat so that you've got it, because I was building it. And let me share the screen. You seriously, you and Travis probably, if you guys live near each other, you would probably be a great team based on the way you both think and process the information. So he seriously is probably the best person to talk to or hear his process and experience in the industry. There was something he had asked me about in class, and he's like, I don't know what that word means. And I honestly in class was like, I don't either. Not off the top of my head. And I didn't look in the book. We Googled it as a class, and then we added that information to the PowerPoints. When I talked to you about the PowerPoints being something that we do in class together, or I'll be doing what I usually do, which is the tip of the iceberg of the information that I really feel like you need, the resources you need to study. The other stuff's filler. It's not bad to have, but the stuff that's the concentrated information. And I think we'll get, was it the practice book? I think it was that this happened in. Oh no, you have a new practice book. I'm building a whole new set of PowerPoint. It's okay. We're mixing. Anyway, the long and the short of it is he brought a term into the class that I've actually never used, and I can't think of it at the moment, but it'll come to me by maybe not by tomorrow, but by the next book that we do together, Adam. And I thanked him, and we added that to the PowerPoint, and it helped solidify, because some of these questions they ask you, or some of the information you're going to find out about in the book is talking about getting having a property where there's a government lease, where the government is leasing the property from your family and has been. Or let me clarify. Let's say your grandfather has a property, and he's been getting a $15 check from the government every month or every year or whatever. And you're like, why does grandpa get $15 from the government? And a lot of people don't correlate him getting a 50, or hypothetically speaking, your grandfather getting a check from the government, a lot of people just go, oh, well, it's a tax there. He's getting money back for taxes, or maybe he worked for the government back when he was however old. It's probably a retirement account, or it's this or it's that. But a lot of times what happens is like 2 generations older than you have leased their property to the government, and the government has their wells on your, not their wells, but their oil rigs on your property, and you just kind of look at the oil rig on the property and you're like, I wonder if my grandpa's ever going to do anything with it. And I'm not joking when I say that. A lot of people don't know 2 generations later that the government may not be pumping the oil out of off of your grandfather's property, but they have the right to, because they've been leasing the land for a period of time. And they can lease up to the lease can be up to 99 years. And I think that's what it was that we were talking about. But anyway, explaining that process in class is kind of a weird process to explain, because let's be reasonable. It's 2023. And how many of us have grandparents? How many people do you know that have property that's been in your family for 3 or 4 generations? You know, and then the government knocks on the door and goes, hey, we want to re-up our lease with you. And you're like, what lease? They're like, we'll give you $20 a year or $20 a month. You're like, excuse inflation, y'all. When was the last lease? 99 years ago. And what was $15 worth in 2023's money? That's where we're starting. That's where the lease would start, you know, that kind of thing. So anyway, so having those kind of discussions where those are realistic discussions, just like the one that you want to have, which is this is me building a quick PowerPoint that says estates and stuff. But the reasons why I'm bringing up this weird, like, government leasing the property from your grandfather for 99 years is on that same vein of a life estate. We're dealing with something that historically made sense during a period of time, but doesn't necessarily make as much sense in 2023. But we're going to pull from that resource. Okay, we're going to pull from the historical resource and why it does kind of make sense now. We will try to wrap this up in 22 minutes, unless you want to stay a little bit longer, but I think we can hit the ground running with 22 minutes between the two of us for reals. And I'm trying not to keep you for more than an hour, because, you know, that's just kind of the way I try to roll. So we're going to be talking about interest in land, right? That includes all of the various rights, privileges, powers, and immunities with respect to any kind of property, including real property. So we are going to be talking about complete ownership of the property, but we're also going to be talking about people's interest in said property. And that was the key, right? You had sent me the video. So I want us to talk about the PrepAgent video. We're going to then classify freehold estates, potentially recall leasehold estates, and then we're going to just do a little Cadillac. So the video I believe that you sent me was this one, which is, oh, we don't want to do that. I might not be, a lot of people don't have any, hold on a second. How is it unmuting for me? Here we go.
I think it's the other one, but it's also mentioned in that one too.
It is? Okay. So yeah. Can you hear the volume?
No.
Okay, that's not good. Hold on just a second. So I'm going to go to share. And then before I share, I'm going to hit share sound. So we're going to parse this a little bit.
Hi, this is Joe from PrepAgent.
Can you hear it now?
Yeah, it's good. I can hear
cool. Okay, cool. So I'm gonna just do a couple of them, and then I'm gonna go in, and then we're gonna break it down. But I just wanted to like kind of surmise. So for those of you that are watching this and missed out on all the fun we're having, I know it's smaller, but it's okay for the sake of the sake.
And today we are talking about a life estate. A life estate is the ownership of land for the duration of a person's life. In legal terms, it is an estate in real property that ends at death, when ownership of the property either reverts to the original owner or passes to another person. Let's explain this using the story of a life estate, creatively modified so that you can pass your exam.
Okay, so creatively modified so that you can pass your exam is totally the way I'm down to clown. Like, we can do that, right? So when we're talking about this life estate, we need to be able to clearly define in the video, he's not talking about complete ownership, right? An estate is the quantity, quality, degree, or nature of a person's interest in a property. So we're talking about a piece of land that is an estate. Ownership can be indefinite and it can be definite, right? It can be measured by duration, indefinitely or definitely. So we have to know the terms. Whoa. So a life estate, so in common law and statutory law, a life estate is the ownership of immovable property for the duration of the person's life. So when we talk about life estate, we're talking about somebody living on that property and being able to live there as long as they stay alive, right? But there's other versions of a life estate. So in legal terms, it is an estate in property that ends at the death of whomever the life estate is signifies. So as an example, Adam, let's say you're living on a property and it's for my life, for a period of my life, right? You have the life estate, you have interest in that property, and you can do anything you want to with that property except sell it. And now you and I are going to deep dive further than our book talks about. The practice or the principles book that we presented in this class is the fundamentals. So we're not even really building the foundation of a house. We're like looking at a mobile home that's kind of pre-built. When it comes to that principles book, there's a very specific information that's in there, and you asked less specific information, and I made it more confusing by saying, no, you can't do certain things. Okay. And the reason I said you can't do certain things is in real estate, you can if it's a big I and it's a big F, right? Okay. So in the video, you'll see that he's talking about that real estate law based on English common law, and that he's basically talking about how the king was doing some, and this is true back in the day, right? The king lived in a castle behind a gate and all the people were dying and they probably couldn't afford food or water and they probably were being heavily taxed and money wasn't necessarily a thing. But the significance during this period of time, because this is how land, the fundamentals of how land ownership came about. This is basically like walking down history lane. So the king said to the people, hey, man, if you'll defend me, like, it'll make it better for everybody that lives here. And they're like, no, 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 you suck. But what the king was really trying to do is like, how can we come to some type of impasse? Like, we're at an impasse. You're hungry. You need a roof over your head. And I kind of need you to not let like the bad guys into the castle and kill me. So how can we come to an understanding, right? So even though the king may have had money, the thing that mattered to the people wasn't the money per se, it was the roof over their head, that the roof of their head wouldn't be taken, because this was a period of time when people were being heavily taxed. If you want to look back at Robin Hood, I know that's not historically accurate, but it's a realistic perspective of that the wealthy and the affluent stayed wealthy and affluent and the poor just died, right? The people that did all the work and made all the things and did all the things. So a version of slavery maybe would be a thing that could potentially have been said. So basically what was happening was the king's like, okay, well, money's not going to really help you out. And let's be honest, if that king gets overthrown, it doesn't matter what kind of money there is. We got a new king, we got a new coin, we got a new all these things, right? So the king was basically saying, hey, if you'll defend me, I'll give you ownership in land, and it'll make you look affluent. It'll give you this roof over your head. It'll do these things. But in order for this proposal that the king was giving, he's like, you have to defend me though, because the moment I die, all of this land that this life estate, if you will, that you're living in, all it's going to either go to my heir or it's going to go to the people that took me out, right? Because it should go to his heirs technically. But if the king dies, you're not going to have a roof. So he gave them a reason to defend them. He gave them a reason to defend him. Now, one of the kickers to all of this is if we look at it, we're technically looking at an estate in reversion. So the king is the grantor, right? He is granting the life estate to the people. Now, of course, these images are very like caricature, but I'm totally down for that part of it. But upon the death of the people, it's going to either revert back to the king, or upon the death of the king, they're going to lose it. Either way, right? The reversion, the land isn't theirs. So they have that, so that life estate, the way the king had it set up back in historically accurate, is that no matter, as long as the king stayed alive, they were probably going to be okay. But the moment the king died, so it's a little bit different than the way we explained it in the book. So if the king dies, who owns the property at that point? Because basically the king's like, if I stay alive, you got a roof over your head, right? So if the king dies, because the people are the holder of the life estate at this time, right? The people with the pitchforks. And the king holds that estate in reversion. So he's like, as long as I'm alive, and the reason I say the king holds the estate in reversion is they don't technically have full ownership. They only have life estate interest in the property. So when the king dies, that property, they no longer get to live in those homes. Those homes or that property is either going to be the king's heirs' property, or it's going to be whoever took the whoever took the kingdom from the king. So a lot of times, like if you watch, I don't know if Bridgerton's the right way of looking at it, but a lot of, when you look at the way estates were set up and how estates were set up under the male, the men of the family, not the women of the family, and how the people living there, we have the right to live here as long as our cousin is like the women. What was that movie? Pride and Prejudice, I think, where the cousin had to come and in order for the family. Okay. So we're basically talking about life estates, where even though it's the way historically the way things were handled, the property only passed to the man. So the man that was living, he owned that property, and as long as he was okay with you living in that property without you having to marry off your kids or whatever, one of your daughters to him or whatever, right? As long as he was alive, then who knows who the next heir is. So the process, this estate in reversion, or this life estate experience, makes far more sense now that I watched that PrepAgent video. Now I watched a different one, you're saying, than the one that you watched. So I wanted to establish this information, which is the king owns the property. He's letting them live their best life as long as he gets to live his best life, because the moment he dies, the property reverts back to him. The moment they die, the property reverts back to him, right? Or his heirs, the king's heirs. So the question you had for me yesterday, or was it last week, was asking about the rights of the life tenant. So a life estate establishes two interests in the property, right? You have the life tenant, who was the people with the pitchfork, and then the remainder owner, or the remainderman, who would either be the king or their heir, or the heirs, right? So even though he's saying you can live your best life in this building as long as you defend my honor, or whatever the king would say. So you have complete ownership between the life tenant and the remainderman, or the remainder owner, right? But because they're split, the ownership is split, neither one nor the other has complete ownership until something transpires. So when it comes to the life tenant, or the people with the pitchforks, they can, what are their rights? They can enjoy an absolute right to use the property that cannot be infringed upon by the remainder tenant or by creditors of the remainder tenant. Now, that's not something we've talked about in class together. So as an example, let's say the prince knows he has future interest in that land, and he's a gambler and he gambles away that property. The creditors can't go and kick out the people that have been defending the king, because the king's still around, because the creditors won at the gambling table. They can't do any of those people, because those people are defending, the king, and they go to the king. They're like, dude, your kid's a piece of a junk. He's a donkey. What did he do? He sold our properties. We have life tenancy. This is not. So the king, obviously has to deal with that kind of situation. The creditors for the prince can't come after them. None of that stuff, because they have future. Now the creditors can go after once the people pass away, or once the king passes away. You better believe the creditors are all over that property, because the life tenancy is gone. We know that the life tenant doesn't have complete ownership, right? We know that they can't sell or mortgage or in any way transfer or encumber the property. Now they can get a hard money loan or they can get something else. Now, one of the questions you asked me was, can the life tenant sell their interest, their life tenancy to somebody? So can they sell the right for someone else to live on that property for their life? And then once they're dead, those people lose out. Like, they don't technically lose out. I don't know what they're losing out on. They bought into what they knew they bought into, right? So can they? The answer is yes, if, capital I, capital F, you can sell a life estate interest if the life estate does not stipulate otherwise. So I would venture to say, as an example, the people are like, okay, King, we'll defend you. We'll take this life tenancy, or we'll have we got the life estate. We're cool with that. Yeah, you can have it after whatevs, and we're going to go sell it. Well, I would venture to say that in the life estate, in that transference of interest in the property, there would be some type of stipulation. And the reason I'm saying that is, who pays for the maintenance on the property? Who pays for the property taxes on the property? Do you know who that is, Adam?
Well, it would be the life tenant.
Right. Cool.
Yeah.
Yeah. Cooking with gas. Okay, yeah. So in that same respect, that's a stipulation in the life estate, in the transfer of interest. And I would venture to say that the king, if we want to use the king as an example, is like, yeah, I'm cool with you guys living there because you're defending me, but I'm not going to allow you to sell your interest in the life tenancy to anybody else, because I need you to do what you promised me, which is you're going to defend me and you're going to live here, and you get the right to live here if you defend me. But if you aren't living here, how are you defending me? Ergo, you can't sell the life estate interest based on the fact that I would venture to say the king stipulated you can't. Okay. Now, do we know? No, we don't know. We don't know what was in that. So that's why I put in there. So yesterday, I think it was yesterday when you were asking me that, I was like, holy crap, I bet you they could sell it. I'm like, nope, don't say a word. Kathy, shut your mouth. Don't say anything, because this is a conversation that we can have in real time. So I went reading about the sale of the interest. Now it's still fuzzy, so it has to be stipulated in the transference, in the transfer of interest in the life estate. It's devil's in the details, right? And we'll go into that in just a moment. But I did also find what I thought was interesting was that even if either party wanted to actually sell the property, both the life tenant and the remainderman would have to agree upon that. And in the so that was something that another student had asked me. Well, what if the owner of the future interest was like, I really don't want this property that my grandfather wants to give me, and the person living there is like, I really don't want to live here until I die. The life tenant could receive a small portion of the value of the property when it if the life tenant and the remainderman, the person who has future interest, both choose and are like-minded and do actually choose to sell the property together. And I would never have thought of that. And I'm never going to bring that up in class. Can you imagine that can of worms on your first book in your first class with me? Holy crap. But it is something that people do. So I have an article that I wanted to share with you with regards to that. But you could, based on what you just shared with me, who pays the taxes, who pays for the maintenance? Well, that's the life tenant, right? The person that has the life estate. You could see where someone's like, dude, this is a beautiful space, but I'm dropping 10K a month just to maintain this place. I can't do that. And the remainderman or the person who has future interest, like, yeah, I do not want that back. I do not want to deal with my grandpa's property. And they come to some agreement. You could see where the two of them would sell. Now, when I told you previously that you could sell to your interest if the life estate stipulated, if there was no stipulation to the life estate has stipulations. So let's say I gave you a life estate to our property, and you have to take care of you have to maintain the property, you have to pay the taxes, and you can do, if you want to sell your interest in the property, go ahead, dude. That's cool. The thing is, if you don't pay the property taxes on time, and if you don't maintain the property, and we have someone that checks the property on an annual basis, you will be removed as the life tenant and the property will be given to the remainderman, whoever that would be. And so that's what I'm talking about with these stipulations. There's details in the life estate transfer. It's not just you maintaining, but if you do not do these things, the property just forwards to the next person. They're not going to let the property go into they're not going to let the property become less than human habitable, because that was how it was handed to the person that has the life estate. So your question when you said, can they sell their interest? They can, unless it's stipulated in the details of how they are going to have that life estate. Does that make sense?
Kind of. I don't know. I guess the reason why I'm just interested in this is so my mom has somebody in our family that's going to be passing away, and technically I guess I would be the remainderman in the property, right? So it's going to my mom. She's the next person in line as heir, and I mean I would be heir to her, but should anything happen to my mom, I'm not going to sell that property, but I also don't want the property. I don't want to maintain the property, take care of the property, right? So what I
Right.
would do is probably give it to somebody as a life estate, you know. Um
Yeah. Yeah.
but so I just wanted to know exactly like what they were able to do on the property, and that's why I was also confused about them mortgaging the property, because he does mention in there that they can, and I see here that you say they can't. So
They
that's what I
they
was
they
wondering.
they can and they can't. They can't get a mortgage. They can't get a mortgage, but they can get a loan.
And
And so
so
it's so confusing. So hear me out. You can get this is one of those things where it's like it's the difference between gluten-free, and I'm a gluten-free person. I don't know if that makes any sense. So it's a mortgage, but the mortgage would be stipulated that upon the death of the person that upon the death of the life tenant, the money would be due. There would be some, but not it would be due by that person's estate, not the property. There's no way they can put a lien against the property. Well, when I say there's no way, see, that's what I mean. Like, this isn't one of those, like, we
I
can talk
guess,
about it in class. It's there's a lot of gray
yeah,
area.
that's what I was wondering, because I mean, are they even allowed to, as a life tenant, use the house as collateral in a loan? Because
No,
technically it's not their property. So
it's not. But somebody probably would, especially in the state of California, let someone borrow and think they could go after the property if they are unaware of what a life estate is or what a life tenancy is. And so part of the reason why it's good for us to have these conversations is, no, you can't get a mortgage on the property, but you can get a loan as long as it's paid off before you die. But they can't they can put it now, Adam. I can if I'm not going to do this. Let me use this as an example. I don't know what the property is that your mom owns, but let's say it's 123 Main Street, and I'm somebody that just can burn a lot of time, and I'm like, I'm going to go put a lien on that 123 Main Street property over there, because I can. Liens can be put against properties all day, every day. And then when they go to court and they're like, Your Honor, I gave them a loan. They're like, yeah, but they don't own the property. You can't put a lien on the property. That lien against the property is against somebody who doesn't own the property. So you don't have a leg in this kicking race or running race or whatever the statement is, that whatever that comes from. So a lien could be put against the property legitimately. Let's say the property your mom owns that that you I don't want anything to happen to your mom. So, let's say your mom decides to move to Hawaii or whatever, and you go, and she's like, just it's your property, it's yours now. And you're like, I don't want to deal with this. And so you're like, okay, I'm going to put a life tenant in, or I'm going to do a life estate with somebody. And that person gets a loan or a lien against the property. And and all of a sudden you get a notice that there's like a lien against your property. You're like, dude, I don't know where this is coming from. This person doesn't own this property. You own the property. You can go to court and go, Your Honor, I don't, bye, Felicia. She doesn't go here. Like you're going to legitimately be able to go to court and say, Your Honor, this isn't, and you might not even have to go to court. You might even just be able to call up title and be like, hey, there's a cloud on title. So when I talk to you guys about clouds on title, it's not just a situation where maybe the transfer from a husband and wife where one of them passes and now it should be transferred to the wife or a widow as they're sole and separate, because that's what happened to us when we bought this place. The husband passed. I don't know when he passed, but what I'm trying to say is title showed as husband and wife. That's a cloud on title because he hasn't been around for a few years. We didn't know that, right, when we bought the property, but it was a cloud on title because the husband was no longer around. So before Linda could sell us the house, Linda had to have title transferred from husband and wife to widow, sole and separate, or however she which I think is what she had it at. I don't know. I'm just like throwing that one out there. And then to us, that cleared title. In the same way it clears title for the historical side of it, of who has it transferred, there's the side of the liens. So let's say as an example, you do this life estate and these people put a lien against the property. You're like, dude, I'm done with the people that live there. I'm just going to sell this property. I'm not doing this. This is insane in the membrane. You go and sell the property and then title comes up and it's like, dude, there's like a $500,000 lien against the property. And you're like, I did not get a loan against this property. Your title insurance, and that's called, because the property has to be marketable for whoever buys it, right? Clear and marketable title. They're going to go in and see that the person that's been living there got a lien against the property. The title insurance is going to basically tell the people that gave them the loan to pound sand because they didn't have a legal right to put a lien against the property. They had the legal right to put it against that person's name or that person's credit or their car or whatever, but they didn't have the legal right to put it against the property. They can put it against the property. People can get loans and other people can, like go after you and put a lien against your property and stuff. And it would take some legal maneuvering per se, but you being the owner of the property could go because of title insurance and be like, yeah, I did not get a lien or a loan. I don't know what this is. And it would have to be wiped off because the title insurance actually covers for any of these weird liens that come up, or mechanics liens or whatever you want to call them, between while the seller has owned the property to when the buyer has the property transferred to them. So title insurance would wipe that off. So technically, you cannot get a loan as a life estate. Now, if I'm wrong, I owe you a cup of coffee, like a good cup of coffee, not like don't get me wrong, unless you like 7-Eleven, then I'll get you like 4 cups of coffee. But the only way a lien can go against a property is if the owner of the property, and we know the person that holds the life estate has interest, but it's less than full ownership. So ergo, they can't get a mortgage. But technically, I know I was in lending. People are dumb enough to do it. Is that the right way of
Yeah,
saying it?
I guess my main concern, right, was okay, let's say whenever it gets to that point, hopefully not anytime soon, but you know, I do own the property and I end up giving it as a life estate to whomever. They, decide to pull a loan, use the house as collateral. The lender is dumb enough to give them the money in that regard. Um, I just wanted to make sure that the house wasn't going to be encumbered based on the fact of somebody doing something that I had no control over, also didn't even know they were doing. That I was going to be responsible for. Let's say they pulled out a $500,000 loan and they kicked the bucket, and now they're telling me I owe that. That was my main concern and thought process on the entire thing. And then I was
Oh yeah.
just curious about the selling portion, because I honestly, until I rewatched the videos a couple times, I didn't even understand that it meant possibly selling their interest in it.
That's the thing. And I was like, how do I have this conversation with you without completely panicking everybody else in class? I mean, I don't know if you have recognized, but there are a few people in class going, I don't know if I'm studying enough. I don't know. And it's like, I promise you guys, let's get through the first book. And once you've hit that hurdle, or please don't hit the hurdle, pass that hurdle, please God. You're going to be like, holy crap, why was I so stressed? it is a new language. I get it. I don't mean to be rude when I say it that way, but I don't want you guys to feel like I'm blowing smoke when I'm like, you'll be fine, you'll be fine. But if I were to bring in the conversation we're having right now in the midst of all of this other exposure to new terms and new experiences, I think the class would probably go mad. So I was like, Adam, we're going to talk about that on Wednesday. You know what I mean? Because you have to be in the right headspace. You're talking about a real life experience that you're thinking about for future, right? For a future situation in the next 30 years. You're like, okay, or whatever, right? You're like, okay, this is what I'd like to do. This is what I'm thinking about. This makes sense. I read this in the book. And so you're implement, or you're taking what we're learning in the class and you're going, okay, this is like something that could be potentially a real deal. And I think this is a good idea, but realistically speaking, you're the owner of the property. And we're going to be talking about different legal aspects. I think I'm going to start pulling legal aspects into the first book because I think that might help. Now that we're at the end of the first book, I think talking through lawsuits from the perspective of this owner didn't actually technically have the right to sell to this person because they weren't really the owner yet. They had future interests, or some of these other things, because some of the terms make so much more sense in the third book. And I've had so many students say, why didn't we talk about this before? But you're bringing into your own life experiences into the class, so you're asking for deeper conversations, and I truly appreciate it, because it's helping grow my my teaching, or grow the way to help you guys experience this better. But the property's in your name, and so let's say, as an example, you have a cousin that has been visiting your mom every day for the last 10 years and continues to visit your mom for the next 20 years. And when your mom decides to no longer be on this earth and go do the next journey in her life, and or the afterlife, whatever, however, I don't know what you believe, so I don't want to like put any pressure when I talk about that stuff. And your cousin's like, okay, well, I own the property. And you're like, well, excuse me? And they believe beyond a shadow of a doubt they own the property because they visited with your mom for the last 30 years. And you're like, oh, no, no. My mother's will doesn't say anything about you owning any of it. My name is on title. They can say anything they want to, but the paperwork shows it's yours. They can have an emotional connection in the same way. A lot of times you'll find people that have a life estate have an emotional connection to a property because they've been living there for 20 years or 30 years. And they're like, you can't take my house from me. I've been living here. I've been paying the taxes. I've been maintaining the property. You're like, yeah, that's what a life estate is, bro. You know what I mean? So people are going to say a lot of things, but you hold the law within the fact that you own title, that the property's in your name. Now, people are gonna hello, have you seen TMZ recently? If it bleeds, it leads. People are gonna say what they're gonna say, but the reason that I feel like this class specifically is beneficial for even this one life experience is that no matter what someone says, the proof's in the pudding. You got the paper, you got the deed, it's recorded, it's public record, you own the property. People can say all day, every day, oh, well, he's the one that owes me the 500,000. You're like, well, I'll see you in court, man, because my bank statements don't, I don't have a $500,000 deposit from anybody that or how, I'm not saying you don't have $500,000. I'm just saying I never deposited whatever $500,000 you're talking about. So you might have to go to court to get some, or just call the police and say, there's some people trespassing on my property. You might have to take those policing power steps, but realistically speaking, you hold title in your name. Even if someone has a life estate, they can do a lot of things about that. They can do a lot of things on that property, but they can't sell it. They can get a mortgage per se. It's not like it's quasi mortgage, because the mortgage would have to be paid off before they died. And it couldn't technically be a mortgage because a mortgage has to be a lien against a property, and a lender isn't going to lend money to somebody whose name isn't on title as owning. They may have deeded a life estate to someone, but that doesn't mean they have full ownership of the property. And the lender is going to be like, you don't own the property, you have a life estate. If you kick the bucket tomorrow, if you get hit by a drunk driver tomorrow, not you, Adam, you, the proverbial you, whoever the life estate holder is, we're SOL, man. We're not going to get our money back. We're not giving you a loan. What is it? You know what I mean? Like lending institutions, they're not fly by night. You know, they're going to make sure that the lien, or excuse me, that the debt that they're allowing to be given to somebody at a very high interest rate will be paid back. The first thing they're looking at is, how are we going to get paid back? And they're going to want to tie it to that property, and they can't tie it to the property because the person that has the life estate does not have the ownership. Adam, you has the ownership. They have an interest in the property for and that's one of the reasons I put this at the very bottom. If either party wants to sell the property, both the life tenant and the remainder men must agree on the sale, because it will break the life tenancy, right? It'll stop them from having the property for their whole life. The life tenant usually receives a small portion based on the value of the life estate. And there's an article that I'd love to share with you if you can't sleep tonight. That'll totally lull you to sleep very quickly. That will share with you now. Technically speaking, that percentage or that portion. So let's say, as an example, you've given a life estate to me. I'm living on the property, and you're like, Kathy, I don't want to deal with this property anymore. And I can tell you're, like not able to financially kind of be like, we're in inflation and stuff. Are you interested in selling? And I'm like, I'm totally interested in selling. We both decide to sell. When it talks about that small portion could be anything from like 2% of the sale to like 4% of the sale. It's a small portion. It's not a large amount of money. And the article talks about it and even gives you a PDF where you can like calculate it out. You go to a real estate attorney and say, what are my rights? What are the rights of the other person? And a lot of times you're going to find an attorney goes, dude, if you will write a check to Kathy for 20K and tell her, we got to sell or me, Kathy, like, the hypothetical, right? He's like, they'll probably be more than willing to not have the headache of trying to maintain that property. Like and are you paying for the attorney? You're definitely paying for the attorney, but you're also paying for the attorney to protect your investment. And so that pay to play thing is the reasoning behind that. So then you go to your tax preparer and you're like, okay, this is my investment property and I had to pay an attorney to get some information. How do I write this off? You know what I mean? Like there's a way to manage all of this stuff. But when it's all said and done, you as the owner, you have the final word. People can't just take the property out from under you. And when they do, try to do those kind of things. And we'll talk about that as time progresses. It takes 5 years. There are certain things people can do, but it takes 5 years for them to get away with it. And they have to get away with it, like do it under your nose and where you can see them doing it. They can't do it under the shade of night, or whatever the saying is. Does that help, or does that make things worse?
No, it all makes sense. I mean, no matter what, whenever it does come time for that, I probably will actually talk to an attorney about all of it, just to make sure everything is like stipulated correctly. But I mean, I guess just I don't know, I just wanted more information on it. It just was pretty interesting topic, I thought.
I don't know, it totally is. And like I think we talked about this before, but like I kind of pulled from the other resources we had, but Law and Lumber does a really good a breakdown on the life tenancy that Tiger Woods has with his kids, if you want to check it out. And obviously I don't know if you even know who this YouTuber is, but his name's Law and Lumber, and you actually literally have to start at like 45 minutes into it because there's obviously other conversations and stuff. But she, being a romantic partner of his, didn't sue him. She went after the estate because she knew that's where all of it had happened, where all of the money had transferred. And so I think that one might be beneficial to just kind of get a different feel for things, because it sounds a little bit like, and this is my personal opinion, the concern is the way people that are around you, or the life estate or the life tenant, how are they going to be, how their reactionary way, how are they reacting to things? And I feel strongly that if you look at a romantic relationship that didn't end well, and the way they're dealing with each other is probably the deepest and the darkest version of what could potentially happen to you. Not that it's going to happen to you, but the fact that it had to go to court. Now it's out now, but and I can put that in chat. And I'll here, let me put this PowerPoint. Where did I put it? I threw it away. No, I didn't throw it away. Where are you? Oh, that's the wrong one. That's the wrong one. But I can send this one to you, and that way you have that in the video for Lawn Lumber. That guy's hilarious. Can't think of his first name right now, but funny. Real attorney. He doesn't think that we should be able to have where is it? Did I do it? No. He doesn't think that we should be able to have that we should be able to do dual agency. And the reason he doesn't think we should be able to do a dual agency is because attorneys can't be the attorneys on both sides of the court. And I'm like, that's a pretty good point that he made. But and I'll also here, I'll add this to chat as well. But I won't keep you. I know I kept you longer, like 15 minutes longer than I expected. But do you feel better about the conversation, or?
Yeah, no, for sure. Definitely answered a lot of the questions.
The key to ownership of property is interest. So when you hear Joe talk on PrepAgent, or when you hear myself talk, it does not hurt in my class or anywhere else for you to go, is that the interest in the property when you talk about that? Because technically we don't own anything. We just have interest in property. We have full interest, or we have fee simple absolute. We have and so it sounds, you're like, no, Kathy, you and Adam own the property. Adam, you guys own the property you live. Well, technically we have full interest. We have ownership of the property, but if we actually had full ownership of the property, then they wouldn't be able to eminent domain it, right? So, and that's a different type of ownership of property. And I think you actually are the one that brought that up in a previous class. I was like, dang it, dude, that's something new too. Okay, I won't keep you any longer unless you want to be kept longer. But
no worries.
You're good. Okay,
Yeah.
I will talk about the deed versus title, and we'll talk about rent control next Wednesday if we don't come up with something else. And technically, we don't have class next week. That you guys should be studying for the open book exam for this book. But I'll see you in the morning.
Okay, sounds good. Appreciate your time. Thank you. I'll see you tomorrow.
Of course. Oh my gosh, absolutely. Have a good evening.
All right, you too. Bye.
Okay, bye.